Welcome to OTN. I've rounded up a few folks from the 2009 Liberty Forum. I've got Ian Freeman from Free Talk Live, Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio, and Marc Stevens from marcstevens.net, correct?
That's it.
Okay. And so what I thought we'd do today is just take some time out to sit down. Ian and I have done quite a few things with the Free State Project and the activism and things that are going on here in New Hampshire. I know you guys are fairly new to some of this Free State Project. This is your first time attending the conference, correct?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What are your initial thoughts, having seen all of this going on? And is it what you expected?
They're all nuts.
People pack, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's nice to know. It's like when I first moved to Phoenix in Arizona, where you've got people walking around with guns, big guns, and not everyone's freaking out.
Mm.
You know, I mean, you go into a restaurant or something, there's 4, 5, 8 people packing, and it's normal, which it is.
And it's not to say that it doesn't happen where people freak out. We have, what is it, every month it seems like somebody's getting a phone call and the police are coming out and it turns into a...
Really?
It's usually someone from Massachusetts, though.
Right.
But it's not to say, you know, the police are coming in, questioning these people, detaining them for hours. One guy went in and filed a police complaint. So it comes with a little bit of struggle in order to make it like you see out there.
No, and I think that, I feel perfectly content and happy with, even though it's surprising, I'm from Canada, right? So you don't see people packing who aren't in uniform. But I feel perfectly comfortable and happy shaking hands, and I don't think that they're Yosemite Sams, that's the sort of the stereotype. But I'm really impressed with the intellectual caliber of the people here. Like really great discussions, really great questions, really intensely focused people who obviously have poured a lot of time and energy into a movement that they really believe in. And because my history with conventions is business conventions where you're kind of there to, press the flesh, and make a sale and so on. And so I'm really impressed with the focus, and intensity is a word that has two kinds of, too intense is bad, right? But I really do like the intensity that people have and the focus that people have and the sense of purpose that people have. And I think that's why the Free State Project, whether you agree with the political possibility or not, and I have questions about that, which doesn't mean anything because nobody knows the future, but I can certainly see why it would be really nice to be around like-minded people where you have your disagreements, but the core aspects of the non-aggression principle, property rights, small to no government, that stuff is really core to what people talk about here. And the well-educated people who, you had some surprising things to say, I'm sure, for some people today. But people were open and receptive and had questions and comments, and I really like that. It's sort of like
no one shouted you down. Or
it's like
afterwards.
The guns didn't come out.
It's like what it's like. It's like the way I feel about it. It's like going to a scientist's convention, right? So some people in science, they have big disagreements about certain aspects of science, certain aspects of physics or whatever, but they all have a common methodology for resolving their disputes, which everybody respects. And I think here what's really nice is that nobody's saying, well, we disagree, but so I'm going to go and get the government to do something about it. Whereas we all say, well, reason and evidence and negotiation is the way to resolve these disputes. And that's really nice to be in that environment.
Have you noticed that the Free State Project is almost organized in the same way that a voluntary society may be? Sure, there is this board of directors and the Free State Project, people that run the Free State Project, but the intent is really to get people to move here. Once they're here, it's up to them, and there really is no overriding structure, nobody telling somebody what to do. Essentially, the way most of the things happen in the Free State Project is somebody will announce, here's what I want to go out and do. I'm going to go possess cannabis in public.
Right.
I'm going to go do this or that protest. And then the people that support that idea go and get behind and get involved.
Right.
And I think the local politicians are really having a hard time understanding.
They're frustrated. We call this local show called Talkback in Keene every week. We make a point of calling and making pro-liberty, bringing up pro-liberty ideas and talking to what are essentially 2 city councilors sitting here on the radio. And one of them has been harping on this for a while, like the idea of, well, who's your leader? You guys, this is your problem. This is what he tells us.
To get
Your
organized,
problem, right?
Guys.
Your problem. He's being very critical of the organizations. well, there isn't enough in our organization. You need a leader.
Right.
Well, that's why this is so great, because there are no leaders. I think they believe, at least in Keene, they believe that I'm a leader because, well, I'm more visible than the average Free Stater. And we're getting to a point where that's going to change, because we have so many people that have moved in now, just within the last 6 months, that as they start to self-organize and they start to do their activism, they're going to show up on the radar of these politicians too, and they're not going to know what to think. Well, wait, Ian's not telling them to do these things? Who are these people? They're going to come out of the woodwork, and they're already, I think, somewhat overwhelmed with what's happening, and it's barely even begun.
Yeah, there's nobody to attack if there's no one front and center, right?
Right.
It's like trying to fight fog. You can't do it, and that's probably what's frustrating, is they're used to someone who has like a pyramid structure. You lop off the top and it scatters, but
They
that's
want
not
us
how
to be
it
like
works.
them.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's easier, like you're saying, it's easier to go after the head of the organization, because it's typically, you take off the head and the tail goes away.
Sure.
You don't have to worry about that, but the spokesman who's getting people motivated, once you remove the motivation, that's why, so like Martin Luther King, you take him out. You know, John Lennon was the same thing.
So I think it's safe to say everybody at this table has given up on the idea of the state solving problems or the need for the state. I'm wondering from you two, what was it that finally kind of won you over? For me, it was a 1.5-year process of listening to the Market for Liberty and Free Talk Live before I was finally able to let go of the concept of we need the state to
Right.
keep everybody safe. What was it for you guys?
Well, what did it for me was actually what I talked about this morning, was finding out governments, in their own words, unambiguous, very clear, they're not here to protect you anyway. So that, there's really no argument with that. Either you accept it or you don't. So you either go blindly and accept and think, oh, I can vote and it's going to change things, or you can take a step back and realize there has to be other ways to do this. And that's when start getting into voluntarism and actually, like Gandhi.
But to the people who say, well, we have this system that's established and we need to use the system to change the system, what's the solution to that argument?
I looked at it, just because you're a prisoner and you vote for a new warden doesn't make you any more free. And Lysander Spooner said basically the same thing. Just because a man is allowed is the operative word, to choose a new master every few years doesn't mean he's any more free.
We understand, like we would all understand, I think, the argument that would say you can't fight slavery through the draft, because that's fighting fire with fire, right? And we would oppose that. If we'd have been around the last century, 2 centuries ago, we would oppose that Civil War thing, right? That you can't fight slavery through involuntary slavery, especially you'd rather be a slave than someone in the army, right?
Right.
And so you can't use the weapons of the enemy to overturn that. I mean, because it's not a self-defense situation. It's not possible because we're so outmanned and outgunned, so to speak. So that would sort of be my approach. But I'm more recent, I think, than I was an objectivist minarchist for many, many years. And because objectivism takes you that far, real small government,
It does.
and then it draws that line. Like, after that is evil. Like if you go after that, if it goes down to below 0.5%, it's evil, anarchy, right? And so for me, it was really, really hard